Welcome back to another exciting episode of Have Game Will Travel. I'm your host, Bennett Newsome, also known as Damn It Bennett out on the internet. But as the Director of Esports Growth and Development here at Full Sail University, I'm super passionate about exploring the diverse world of esports and gaming beyond just skill levels. So whether you're a first-time listener or a returning fan, we're thrilled to have you join us for this virtual journey through the experiences of industry professionals. Get ready to engage with our guests and learn from their perspectives. And remember to submit your questions live in the chat, and we'll feature them on the show and get the answers you want. So sit back and enjoy the ride as we kick off another episode of Have Game Will Travel, featuring Jorge Sanchez. Jorge, welcome to the show. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you for having me on. It's been a good day. Just got back from Las Vegas yesterday, so still a
Yeah.
little tired, but we're doing well. We're doing well.
Good, man. Yeah. Well, let's jump right in. Let's talk about Las Vegas and the Scholar Awards, kind of tied in with the whole esports awards that happened there. Tell us a little bit about what you experienced and kind of the whole event.
Yeah, sure. So we got in a couple days early. I was going in with the UNC Charlotte group. We got nominated for a couple different awards, namely Club of the Year. I got nominated for Student Leader of the Year. We had LAN of the Year, and we also had Team of the Year for our iRacing team. So we're pretty pumped going into it. We had 4 award nominations. We were just hoping to get one at the very least,
Yeah.
which
Right.
thankfully we did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Collegiate
and so
Collegiate
yeah.
Gaming Club of the Year is what Niner Esports took home, right?
Yep, that was it. Yeah, so we took Club of the Year. We're pretty pumped. We're really excited that we got that and got to bring it back for our students in Charlotte. Last year, we were nominated for Program of the Year, and I know a lot of our students were very disappointed about the fact that we didn't end up winning that. So this year, we brought something back home. They're
Yeah.
very excited. Everyone's very pumped that we got it, and it's just been a great time since.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, tell everybody kind of what you do and kind of you know how you got into esports.
Yeah, so we're a couple different hats.
Yeah.
I'm currently at Converse University. I'm doing my master's there, and as part of that, I'm also under the esports program. I'm the operations coordinator and the talent recruiter, so I do a little bit of everything there. Mainly when it comes to kind of business development, sponsorships and partnerships, team
Mhm.
operations, traveling with the teams and managing them. And I also recruit students to come in and compete for us, as well as student staff to come in and work with us and develop their skill set while everybody pursues their degrees.
Yeah, that's
On the
awesome.
flip side of that, I'm also the alumni advisor of Niner Esports at UNC Charlotte.
Yep.
So I still work with the club as an advisor. We, just finished our big round of funding for our esports facility that has started back in December. So the state of North Carolina just awarded us our $1.5 million grant, which has been amazing for
Yeah.
that. And still working with the club as well as the school administration on what that's going to look like and shaping the future of esports at UNC Charlotte.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, you just talked about a whole lot of things in that little bit of time. We're going to definitely cover them as we go through. But let's talk about that role. What does that kind of look like on your day to day? Obviously, everybody in, especially the collegiate esports space, wears a ton of different hats. You mentioned that. When you were recruited for this position, what was really kind of the main chunk of that? What do they expect out of you from the esports operation coordinator?
Right. So it's a couple different things. So one of the big things coming out of UNCC after I graduated that I wanted to come out to and do is really learn how to be a varsity esports director. It's
Mhm.
something that I hadn't, like I've been a club president, but being a
Right.
director is a completely different environment, especially when you talk about a varsity program. And mainly one of the other things is I already learned a lot of community in terms of the club. What I wanted to come out to is, well, what's the flip side of that look like? What does a competitive program look like? And how do I run that? So I talked to a couple different people, and I think the place that felt most like home was going to be Converse. And so I ended up coming to Converse. I'm kind of in a remote situation, kind of remote hybrid situation with them. So I'm still actually living in Charlotte.
Okay.
I do commute to Converse about 2 to 3 times a week, just so that I can work out of the facility, interact with the students, interact with our players and staff, and really just get things done. But what that looks like for me, a lot of recruitment lately.
Yeah.
We're kind of in a big recruitment. I want to say kind of just run right now to try to get
Hmm.
as many people as we can in, anywhere from staff to people who may just be interested in esports and kind of starting some developmental teams to some top talent in different games. Right now we're competing in League of Legends, Overwatch, Rocket League, and Valorant. So mainly around those games, we're looking at possibly bringing in some new things, but I don't know league too much. But we're gonna have some fun stuff coming into the next school year, and I'm really excited for what I've been able to get done in the recruitment
Yeah.
side of things. And aside from that, sponsorships has sort of been another big thing. We just recently did our Thanksgiving event, like the week before I went out to Las Vegas. So I got to bring out some sponsors to really activate that for Converse, which is something that, has been very much, when you talk about a competitor program, events is kind of on the back burner
Right.
almost. But now that we've kind of got a very good base going with competition, we've been able to start looking at some of these other things to bring into our students to just round out the experience for them. So really glad that we got to bring in some sponsors. We got MSI, we got Genshin Impact who came in.
Yep.
We got Bandai Namco who came in as well, and really just round out good experiences for our students while they're at these events, just that they're able to enjoy themselves and have a good time. And then aside from that, team management. So I'm mainly with the Rocket League team I work with, on just their practice schedule, what their academics look like, making sure I keep up with them, just kind of on a more personal level, on a
Yeah.
personal level. That way they're having a good experience, and I'm really managing the fact of whether or not that's happening for them. So doing that as well. So
Yeah,
that's what I do at
it
Converse.
literally many hats, many hats, which again is super common in this. And for yourself, what was the thing that kind of got you into into esports and wanted you to pursue a career in esports? Where did your journey begin?
So 13-year-old Jorge was sitting on YouTube one day when Optic Nade Shot video just randomly pops up on my screen on my recommended, and I saw, I think it was like this guy didn't know who Optic Nade Shot was, so then he started trolling him in game. I think that was the video that went viral, right?
Yep.
And I believe it was like on a raid search and destroy game. So I watched that. I'm like, oh, well, what does this guy do? What's this? Who is Optic Nade Shot? I don't
Right.
know who Optic Nade Shot is. So I started researching Optic and Ninja and eventually found that people compete in video games. I
Yeah.
didn't know that was a thing. I started gaming since I have a memory. I always like say my dad did the worst mistake ever when I was like 5 years old and he got me a GameCube because that's all I started using.
Yep.
But I didn't know people competed in video games until this was about, I want to say 2014 when I found out. And so from there, I kind of really started looking into what this was. I eventually got into it in the Call of Duty amateur scene and I competed a little bit. Got up to a pretty good level. I want to say I was placing really well. That was back when MLG and game battles were really
Yep.
rampant. So really
Hmm.
getting on those 2Ks and those 5Ks, and placing well. And then from there, they unfortunately well, not unfortunately, fortunately, they introduced the 18 plus rule to competition. And at
Hmm.
that time, I was about 16 or 17. So I wasn't able to compete anymore. So then I looked at the flip side. What does content look like? What is that about? So I really started learning content production, trying to both myself become a content personality, but also learning how to produce content as a whole. And I started working in a couple tier 3 organizations in Call of Duty to produce contents and streams, and then later became a stream manager for a tier 2, and then just really started climbing up from there on kind of marketing, social
Yeah.
media marketing, and content production around tier 2 Call of Duty.
Yeah, it's incredible. I always love hearing the stories of discovering esports and like what is this? And wait, people play this competitively? Like that's always such a really fun part of everybody's journey. And every guest that's been on the show, we've kind of dived into that, which has made it really special for you. Obviously, talking about what you're doing now at Converse. Recruitment obviously seemed to be a big part of that conversation, right? So what does that look like for you? And for maybe anybody watching that's like saying like, hey, I want to play competitive esports. I want to go to college. Like, what should they be doing to try to help get on, your radar or anybody else's radar that could be potentially recruiting them?
Right, so it's a couple different things, right? So first start off with like kind of discoverability aspect of things, right? It's having a presence as a competitor that I think is very important. A lot of esports players really overlook that and kind of just jump straight into the game. It's good to have skills, but how are you getting discovered, right?
Right.
How is it that people are able to find you? Are you on a recruitment platform? Are you on Twitter? Are you on Discords? right? It's making sure that you're making yourself as discoverable as possible so that people are able to find you, finding some of these collegiate discords, right? Finding some of the recruitment platforms that exist for collegiate, or even on Twitter, interacting and networking with some of the personalities in collegiate is really important. And that's, I think that's overall how people get found. Mainly for me, it has been the recruitment platforms that I kind of start working with.
Yeah.
So from there, it really comes down to either them reaching out, or if I see that someone's making themselves open to conversations, I'll reach out myself, right? So, well, what am I looking for when I recruit a student? It's someone that has good academics. It's someone that has a good public presence, that is very good front facing. Someone that's very
Hmm.
family oriented, and that's a little bit more personal. I come from a club background. The same with our director comes from a club background. So something that we really try to mirror with Converse is really making it a family oriented program and making sure that everybody's good with everybody. Everybody's having fun. It's
Yeah.
really just a good time with that. And we truly try to emphasize for Converse, so it's someone that can fit in and kind of, fit in with multiple people. You don't have to be an extrovert to do that.
Right.
We have a lot of introverts in our program, but it's just a matter of how do you fit in with other people? How do you work with other people? Is it someone, are you sociable? That sort of thing. And then lastly comes your drive. What drives you to pursue this? Why are you pursuing this? And if you're doing it for the right reasons or not, right? Are you looking to advance yourself academically, professionally? Are you looking to come in and be an asset to the program? It's really that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Community, obviously, a huge focus. From the collegiate side is really big as well. And I know to speak at Full Sail, that's been really our big home base has been that community. Really, they were already doing this before our model was a thing. So we really wanted to make sure that we encompassed all of the community when we brought everything together, which really starts to get into that kind of family atmosphere that you talked about, right? Like you want
Right.
to have this thing where people want to go to these events. They want to be part of what is happening, for esports. Um, what are your thoughts on kind of the growth and the development of a student athlete? Obviously, working with student athletes throughout your journey, there's a lot of needs there. What do you look for as the most important thing, kind of as the development, especially when you're bringing people in, you're recruiting people in? What is the focus there for you?
When you talk about a student athlete and their performance, right? I don't necessarily, like I said, even as we recruit from different skill levels, I don't never usually like try to look for the best player out there. Obviously, we do recruit higher level talent. When you look at some of our top teams, whether you talk about our Nightblood or our League of Legends team or our Overwatch team, we have some contender levels, some top, masters, GM masters, whatever it may be on that game, like ranked players. But that's not often what I look for.
Yeah.
When I look for players, it's are you coachable is the main thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, what does your growth factor look like, right? If I watch a tryout from you, I want to see exactly like how you can grow as a player and how you grow when interacting with this new team. Because I may put a player along with some of our existing players to see how they interact, but also to see how they develop as they go through that in that environment. So it's mainly just exactly like it's the best way to put it is how coachable are you and how
Yeah.
are you able to develop yourself? How open are you as well? How open minded are you to working with these people? Just because some of our players probably in the tryout will look at bringing some of the strats that they do in their own games already out to this tryout, especially if it's like a scrim tryout, just to try and like work on themselves, right? So
Right.
how are you adapting to this and how are you working on yourself through this is the main thing that I'm looking for when it comes to performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that speaks volumes too, right? Because so many people think, oh, I've got to be the best. I got to be the best player in all of these things. And when in reality, it's about how you're interacting with the other people that you're playing with, how you're interacting with the situations that are put in front of you. Like those things are really important. I'm glad to hear that that's something. Obviously, being really good at the game is also a key component, right? But all of those other things matter, right? And those things are super super important. Coming from the club background, obviously, and building that community is something that I think a lot of people sometimes forget about in the collegiate space. So
Mhm.
for yourself, I mean, really, what was something that you guys were doing early on to really foster that strong, community in esports and in your clubs?
So coming from the club background, I think the biggest thing for me was events, and events don't have to be in person, right? When I started out, we were coming out of the post-lockdown world. Like
Yep.
lockdown rules were very slowly starting to kind of be more and more relaxing. But with that is how okay, well, let's figure out how do we bring this community together? How do we start bringing people together, and how do we get people interested in this? I don't know how it is in different campuses. Of course, I think that in UNC Charlotte, the biggest factor that we had going for us is that people thought very positive of gaming and esports on
Hmm.
campus. And so it really helped us get the word out. We used a lot of word of mouth, a lot of signs on campus. We had to have a pretty good real estate when it comes to signage on campus that we're able to really capitalize on just to get people in the door.
Hmm.
And then from there, it was really showing them what we were about, hosting different events that people are able to interact with, hosting hangouts, hosting game nights on Discord, just making sure that we're really tapping into different as well groups that
Right.
exist on campus, right? We're not just tapping into just general groups, but when you talk about, hosting like women hangouts, some of our Smash and FGC players really that's a very diverse community for us at
Hmm.
UNCC, a lot of LGBTQ presence. So just kind of making sure that people knew that it was a safe space to come in and
Yeah.
really belong to was big for us. And then also fostering some competition along with that, hosting tournaments that people are able to compete in and kind of just get a feel for what esports is like. A lot of people come from a gaming background, not an
Yeah.
esports background. So it's slowly kind of introducing that to them and showing them why it is that we're called Niner Esports and not Niner Gaming, right?
Right.
But at the end of the day, also being able to foster that gaming community is important. So finding a good balance and mix between both of them, I think, was really our key overall to kind of grow in the community. When I came in as president, we were sitting at about 250 students involved in the club. Graduating, I think we were sitting exactly at 637. I think is what the number was.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. And obviously, you said that like the top thing was events, right? So, what was your kind of approach to organizing a successful esports event on campus?
The first thing is building a team of students that are passionate about the same things when it comes to building community events, making sure that people kind of know, hey, this is an event for the community, by the community.
Yeah.
What do we want to see in this event? And therefore, how can we show that and limit that to other people, right? So it's building a team. Rome was not built in a day, and neither was esports. So
Right.
as much as I came in to do events, I could not do it by myself. We have I think it's a 10,000 square foot event space that we use at UNCC. I was not running that by myself at all. So first step is really finding a student team that was ready and passionate and ready to either learn or already has the knowledge and coming in to kind of provide some of that and really do it. One of the things is inclusivity for us. So it's bringing students from all walks of life and all different perspectives as well. And getting those different perspectives to come in kind of shape that event to what it
Hmm.
needs to be. And then the main thing that I always push was interactability. I didn't want people to sit around and just watch. If people were gonna sit, it was because they were gonna game. Otherwise, it was gonna be people walking around checking out what was going on to see where they wanted to station themselves.
Yep.
So a really big formula that I try to build out there with our especially our LAN events. We host four big title events a year, LAN event a years. And for that, that was really just how can we make this as interactable as possible so that people don't come in to just watch, but they feel the need to go participate into
Yeah.
something and kind of that environment.
Yeah, like, and that's hey, come sit down, come play. Here's open gaming or whatever. Definitely a key component to that. Making people feel at home. Obviously, for us at Full Sail, we have the support from administration. Coming from like a club background, how was that? Was that a huge challenge for you? Was it hard to get people on board from the school itself? And what advice would you give to any other potential students or people that are trying to build esports culture at their college? What advice would you give them?
So working with administration at the beginning was definitely tough. Full transparency there, but I mean, like they were ready to support the esports initiative, but they weren't ready to fully back it, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So they were there, but they were there with one foot in the door, most of their body outside the door, just watching. So
Right.
that
Right.
was the main thing. So it was really kind of introducing to what this is, why it matters to the students, making sure that student voices were being highlighted as much as possible. So one of the things that I always used to tell my executive officer team is whatever thing that's cool to do, we're doing it as long as it draws eyes to us. And that's not because I necessarily wanted us to be the big dogs in terms of like social media or anything.
Hmm.
I wanted the administration to really see that we were doing cool things for the students, that we were doing things that were, the students were reacting very positively to. So one of the things is we always surveyed, right? We surveyed what events were being like. We surveyed why people liked our events, and like everybody was, it was overwhelmingly positive. And I think we saw like 97% approval rating when it came to our events. So it was things of that nature where we really wanted to capture anything and everything that was cool. We did an Epic Games partnership, right? And that
Yeah.
was more of bringing an experience, a Niner esports themed experience onto Fortnite that our students could take advantage of and use to really like play with each other, compete against each other. And we used it at a couple of events as well as we hosted an online national tournament for it. So we're showing our administration, hey, not only are we capable of doing these things, but also they're really cool. I mean, it draws eyes. It's
Yeah.
eye drawn things that will bring kind of that value back to the university of partnerships, right?
Yeah.
Sponsorships of really just eyes on the university and why UNC Charlotte is the leading school in esports and kind of trying to make that a thing, which I think thankfully we did accomplish on the club perspective is we accomplished really doing that, and I'm really happy that we did.
Absolutely, and obviously, I think you helped really make a scene there when it comes to esports, and so much so that you mentioned this in your intro about the state bringing like what 1.5 million
Mhm.
appropriation for esports at UNC. Talk to me a little bit about that, and then kind of where that goes. Like, what does that
Mhm.
mean?
So big thing, like I said, is our administration was ready to go, but not fully. Okay,
Hmm.
our administration was looking at getting ready to go, but not ready to go. So with that came the financial talk. In spring of 2021, we started looking at what a esports facility on campus would look like with them,
Right.
and really breaking down. So we found a place, and then we started breaking down what the design of that place was going to look like, what was it going to encompass. So a big thing that I pushed for there was an ecosystem between community and competition because it's really what embodies our club. And so we wanted to show off, yeah, we're a community space, everyone's welcome to come in, but when it comes time to compete, get ready because we're coming in. So that was a big thing that we really put down. And after spring of 2021, when we found a good design that we wanted to use for that space, it was radio silence. Nothing, nothing else moved from there.
Yep.
It was kind of frustrating for me as a student leader because I had been serving players, serving like community members. Hey, this is our future esports space that we may be looking at. Don't say anything to anybody else, but what do you think? So they, people were very positive about kind of what we were bringing to them.
Yeah.
But after that, it kind of sucked because rumors started going around, but I had no answers. Like
Yeah.
people thought that for a while it was kind of like, "Oh, you're keeping stuff from us." And I'm like, "No, I literally know as much as you do." Like,
Yep.
it was just nothing. So with that kind of came the thing for me where I was like, "Well, as a leader, I want to do something for them. I can't just sit here and not do anything." And so I started looking at different ways to fund this because the school was very hesitant on, well, we can't fund this ourselves. Let's find partnerships. However, as we know, it's esports winter right now.
Yep.
Nobody's giving out money.
Nope.
So I set out to find any type of money I could find, and there was not much. I was really grasping at straws because I found out in a harsh way. Because like at this point, I had really been out of like the esports business stuff for a
Mhm,
while.
mhm.
After 2018, I took kind of like a hiatus off of esports, and so I didn't really know how much the industry had grown or not grown. And unfortunately, at that point, esports winter had just started, so companies were pulling out their marketing budgets. Nobody was really
Yep.
giving out money, and so I was not finding any money. And so I think after we came back from the esports awards, I built out a whole bunch of like different partnership and marketing decks and just started like shooting them out. And eventually one landed on our good friend and mentor now at Tomasi, who's an advocate for esports on the state level.
Mhm.
He notoriously worked with the state to build out a $5 million
Yep.
tax incentive towards pro events coming to North Carolina, the only state that has that in the United States right now. And he was the one who championed that along
Yep.
with some of the state representatives. And so he wanted to help us. He was very nice and very amazing at really doing that. And so he really started mentoring us on the things that we should be doing to grow our club, as well as to make it more marketable towards non-endemic esports, you know, offerings that we could bring in that could possibly end up generating cash. So he started mentoring us, I think, in about January, and
Mhm.
we kind of built a pretty good working relationship with him up until March. And then on one day in March, on a Friday afternoon, I get a call. hey, Jorge, the state representatives are really eager to hear about what Niner Esports has to offer. Build a deck, like a proposal deck, on the esports facility. I have a skeleton for you already done. You just need to really put the content in there, make it
Yeah.
good, make it look good, send it to me by Monday morning so that we can go pitch it to the state legislature. And so Friday and Saturday were just grind time of making sure that all the content that we needed was on there, really talking about the business aspect of college esports, why it matters to the students,
Yeah.
the impact on the student life, the impact on student professional lives, student development, like anything that had to do with that. And we touched a little bit on competition, but really not that much just because that was really self-explanatory. And really just trying to like sell the value of what esports is at UNC Charlotte and why it matters and why the state should invest into it. And then talking about what the impact of that facility was going to be for us academically and then the student life aspect of things. We sent that off Monday morning. I didn't hear back again, I think, until May when I found out that everything had been approved. So it was ecstatic. It kind of sucked because we had to keep our mouth shut for a while
Yeah. Yeah.
because we knew it had passed votes, but we had to make sure that it had passed the overall budget. Just because they were doing it through the state budget, and
Hmm.
so it was really a long waiting time. The state budget got delayed past July, so we had to wait up until the beginning of October when I got a call that it had finally caught through and everything was good, and we're allowed to talk about it at that point.
Yeah. So have they built the facility at this point?
So at this point, we're kind of looking at getting the design finalized. The first design that we did was kind of very much like it was. We worked on it with an architecture firm. It was very much like almost ready to go.
Hmm.
We really just want to finalize it, making sure that everything's up to legal code,
Yep.
so that we're able to push it out. And with that, we're also pushing bids out to different construction firms to see who wants to come in and build
Right.
this thing for us. So that's kind of where we're at. Unfortunately, not a lot of people know this, but working with D1s, it's a lot of red tape,
Oh yeah.
and so with that comes getting approval from a million different
Hmm.
places.
Yep.
So while I
Takes
wish
time.
it was built already, it's not going to be built anytime soon.
Yeah, it does take time, and that I mean that is the truth of the matter. That there is definitely some red tape that things have got to go through, but you've had a huge hand in that, and in the future of that, and I think that's a really important piece of the space in the collegiate space is that you're not just building for yourself, you're building for all of those that come after, and that's really important to leave that legacy, to leave your program better than it was when you got it, right? And I think you've done a fantastic job of really embodying that and really supporting that for not only yourself but the students that are going to come after and the students that are there currently and kind of all of the above. We do have a couple of questions from the chat here that I want to take a minute for. We got a quick one from Short King Shady, and they ask, is there an age limit for esports teams? And with this type of question, I mean, I think for what we're having the conversation today is that we're talking about collegiate, so they would need to be collegiate age, meaning they're able and eligible to go to college. But there aren't really outside of that many restrictions on age of players from the collegiate space. I don't know if you've had on the older side on your teams, but we've definitely
Oh
had
yeah.
mid 30s on some of our teams here at Full Sail. So age really doesn't matter in this. Could you say that a 16-year-old kid's going to be a little sharper with hand and eye coordination than a 30-year-old? Probably, but I think again it goes back to that initial conversation that Jorge was talking about with the overall presence of you as an esports player, your coachability, your ability to work as a team, not get frustrated, right? So, any insight from your perspective there?
No, I mean I have players who are way older than me, so like yeah. There's no upper limit. I don't think as long as you're able to come in and help put Converse forward. By all
Hmm.
means, reach out.
Yeah. And then we've also got one from Jacob's Nachos, and he says it was great seeing you a few days ago. You accepted the award for MSI Commercial Partner of the Year at the Scholar Awards. And he asks, how important is a partner like MSI to the success of a collegiate esports program?
So Short answer, very important.
Very.
Partners really do help bring in a lot to students that programs or clubs normally wouldn't be able to. A lot of collaboration comes from it. I am very much like of the thought process that collaboration is key in esports. It's the way to push things forward. If you eat, I eat. If you eat, everybody eats, and that's really what I try pushing a lot when it comes into how I operate personally. And so partner with someone like MSI on the club side, even on the program side now, as we brought them in for one of our events at Converse. It's been amazing. It helps us really not only push a brand like a gaming brand forward, but also show our students why it matters. Why is it that we work with some of these brands? How is it that you push them forward? How does that help you in your academic journey? For example, we have a lot of business students, and it's really breaking down like why that
Mhm.
relationship is there, why those relationships are built, and also letting them enjoy some of the goodies that the sponsor sent, right? MSI sends us a lot of swag, so it's really giving back to some of the students for coming out and supporting events, supporting initiatives, whatever it may be. These brands really help give back to some of the students and add on to the student experience that they get while being belonging to esports in any campus, honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that having a partner like MSI is such a very important piece of the puzzle, and they're able to provide that, give opportunities for students to play on great gear, and we've obviously are partnered with MSI as well at Full Sail, and they've done a ton of really great things. We always do events, and they're always the first to say, hey, we would love to provide prizes for your events. So that's a pretty cool thing, to have in a partner, and obviously winning the Scholars Award is the reason why, MSI is great. Earlier, you had mentioned, things being a safe place, and that was an important piece of that community, for you and your esports program. So, talk to me a little bit about how you're ensuring the inclusivity and diversity within inside of the esports community.
Yeah, so it's really promoting who is it that belongs to these places already, these programs, these events, these initiatives already, but also like really showing off why it is that those things exist in place. For us in like the club level, right? It's really important to make sure that students have a place to be at on campus. And that comes from my student perspective. Is to me, I want to make friends, right? I want
Right.
to hang out with people. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. I just want to hang out with cool people, meet new friends, and really just have a fun time. And so gaming really allows for that. Gaming's like a really easy tool to really push that forward. You're finding common ground with someone, which is the beautiful thing. Is you're finding a common ground with someone, and then you're using that to promote that. The upside, or I guess the other side to that, the flip side to that, is also making sure that the space is safe and it's welcoming towards someone. So it's really making sure that you have the right people around you and also that you have the right perspectives around you to really push that. Something that I was really proud of with our officer team at Niner Esports is just how diverse we were. We had people from all sorts of life. We weren't all primarily men, white men on that
Right.
team. It
Right.
was very much like women were there, people from the LGBTQ, people from marginalized, just groups in general were involved. And so it really allowed us to push different perspectives into our events, to our teams, to our student community,
Hmm.
and really just be able to encompass everything that we need to make it a good and safe space for everyone. And it's also about some of the things that you push out, making sure that you're celebrating Pride Month, making sure that you're
Yeah.
showing why that's a thing. Why is it that you should be celebrating Pride Month?
Hmm.
Celebrating the women in your program, celebrating the women that belong to your club, making sure that they're welcome and ready and giving them the same opportunities that anybody else would have fun, and really have a place of belonging. And it's pushing some of those things out just to make sure that in general, you get everybody to just come in and have fun.
Yeah.
That's the main part about a club background, even from a club perspective, or sorry, a program perspective. Most of our staff are women. I'm the only guy actually because we have a non-binary person, and then after that, we have all women on
Yeah.
our staff team. So that was something else too when I switched schools and went to go look for a master's program. Whereas if I was going to do esports, I wanted to learn in an environment that I hadn't been at before. And so I really looked to like Katie, our director, amazing. I really wanted to be under a female director that would show me the way of kind of
Hmm.
why women belong in the space because it's not a perspective that I normally would have. I was the one leading my own program beforehand,
Right.
and so I really want to get the different perspective. And so Promoting those spaces as well for other people is really just nice. We have women players in our teams at Converse, and then our officer team being women. It's just been nice to work with them. They're all amazing. They're giving me a lot of different perspective that others wouldn't have had. And so it's been great to just belong to diverse programs. I really enjoy it, and I really think that it should be the norm for esports in general.
Absolutely. It brings so much more of a perspective to the table, right? And I think that's important. I think, representation matters and people need to see themselves in these things. And it is a huge deal when I know, and I tell a story a lot. One of my nieces was here when we were watching Armada play, and there was a woman playing competitively, and they said, "Wait, what is happening? What is going on? Wait, they can do this?" And I was like, "Absolutely! Like, let's focus on this. Let's keep going." So that's such a big and an important piece of those puzzles, and I'm glad that you're doing that and you're encouraging that and growing that, which is super important. For yourself, obviously coming from these different backgrounds, focusing on competitive but also the community. Like, how do you measure your success in your role? Like, what are kind of your points that you're focusing on? Is it recruiting? Is it team performance? Like program growth? Like, what do you measure your success on?
So a couple different ways, right? So program growth is a big one for me. Is how are we growing a program size, right? But also how are we growing a program and offerings? How are we making this a good experience for students coming in? And kind of measuring their overall satisfaction based on some of those things, right? Do you feel like you have a place to belong to? Do you feel like you have a community here? Do you feel like your needs are being met? Some of those things, and really like that's kind of how I measure that one. Recruiting, we do have students to bring in. Converse is possibly looking at expanding the program, and with that, it does come in like bring more number of people, bring in more players, bring in more staff. Are we covering a lot of these things that we need covered by their program? Also, how are we growing in terms of our overall program health? Are we growing our broadcasting? Are we growing our marketing efforts? Are we growing our competition titles? Some of those things are really like questions that are asked. And then do we need to do that? How do we measure that? If we need to scale back, we're going to scale back. But usually that hasn't happened yet. And right now we're just looking at expanding as it is,
Yeah.
right? So some of those things are important, and I think that something else is also like the marketing value of a program, at least to me coming from a position of where I'm at, is important. Is how am I building on that marketing value in order to then be able to go do outreach for the program is big for me in my specific position, and it's been that way since the club days as well. And so really working with some of the people who do marketing in our team to kind of push that forward is something else. Really looking at our social media and our broadcasting
Yeah.
strategy, how we can grow that and how we can adapt to that in order to better numbers that we can use to push out and really leverage our program out.
Excellent. Yeah, and that's great information. I think that's the cool part of the collegiate space is everyone kind of has a different direction. Some it's full on only recruitment. Some it's I want you to go win everything that you could possibly win, right? And so it changes from each institution, and it's really interesting to see that. Building those goals and what people are focused on when it comes to measuring success. Obviously as president of UNC Charlotte, what were some kind of key achievements that you're really proud of, in your time there?
Mhm. So getting regular talks with administration was
Yeah.
something that was very near and dear to me. I'm glad we got to accomplish that. Now, we're having, if it's not a call, we're at least having emails with somebody from school administration pretty regularly, and especially as that grant has come in, we've started even ramping that up even more. So look at what esports is going to look like and what that future is going to look like. So that's been a pretty good accomplishment of mine. Our Epic Games partnership was another big one
Yeah.
for me. I really wanted to do something that would peak in terms of what's a really cool esports sponsorship or partnership that we can bring in to add more value to what we're doing that also aligns with our views on what a community and competitive ecosystem looks like. And so that was a really cool one for us because we got to design an experience that would we could not only bring back to our students, but we could also host an event on. no
Right.
matter what that looks like, whether it's coming into our LAN and saying, "Hey, use this map code, connect to it. We're hosting a tournament here just for whoever has their PCs here. We're just doing it, running it, have fun," right?
Right.
Or whether it's we're inviting schools to come compete at an online qualifier to LAN experience, which I think the club is currently planning on at this moment with that Fortnite map. And so we kind of saw the first iteration of that over the summer, where we got to host Gold Fever along with Epic Games and with eFuse. We got to capture a lot of schools from all over the country, and it was an amazing experience because not only did we get to kind of plan that out, but we also got to execute that as students and also kind of work with some of these guys who already have full time jobs in the industry
Right.
to teach us some of the things that they do, whether it's on the broadcast side, whether it's on the tournament organizing side or the event hosting side, to learn some things that maybe we didn't have perspective on hosting our own events. We can only go so far. We have a very limited budget when it comes to our events.
Right.
So something like that really helps. And the state grant, obviously, I think was the peak for me. It was my last Hail Mary at getting funding for that facility, and it got done. So
Yeah.
I was really happy about that. And I think that one really uh kind of captured my goal out. And then obviously the awards I think were great. They were amazing.
Yeah.
We got named Club of the Year at the Esports U Awards as well as now the Scholars. Last year we were nominated for Program of the Year, the only club that was nominated for Program of the Year, so that felt really great as well. And then being named runner up for President of the Year at the Esports U, and then this time I was Student Leader of the Year finalist for the Scholars.
Yeah.
So some of those awards were great. It really it gave me a sense of kind of like I'm doing the right thing, I'm
Yeah.
moving along the right way, and that felt really good. Just because a lot of what people don't realize, especially being a leader in esports, is that it's a very kind of lonely road. You're kind of moving there on your own, hoping that you're doing the right thing, and you really don't get to hear much of feedback
Yeah.
just because you're the one really leading the charge and kind of putting in what needs to be done. So we often heard feedback about the program or about the club, but I didn't get any personal on that, so it's really good to know that not only people were paying attention, but also they thought that I was doing the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's great to know when you're working hard and you're really trying to build things for others that it's appreciated too, right? It's noticed, right? So, congratulations on not only the awards but also the nominations, as that's a huge thing. One thing that you mentioned earlier that I want to kind of go back to was the kind of the LAN parties. You did a couple. You did like the Union LAN parties. How does that really contribute into the culture that you're building? As far as providing and having those types of specific events when it comes to the parties.
So for us, the LAN parties kind of capture everything gaming. They capture what it means to come in and just game with friends, to what it means to have competition happen on campus. So our LAN parties are kind of structured in a way, kind of like a circular motion, right? It's a big circle.
Hmm.
So on the outside, bottom half of the circle, we have people who bring in their own PCs. It's the old style LAN parties. People know and love. People are bringing in their PCs. They're putting them down on those stations. I think we have about 150 seats open
Nice.
for people to just come in,
Yeah.
put down their PCs, and just participate. They're there for the whole day. Doors usually open at 10 a.m. They close at about 8 or 9 p.m. And so people come in and it's just an all day full of different gaming tournaments and gaming activities. And with that also comes the other part of we're hosting main events or we're hosting side events. Our main events are usually made up of esports like tournaments. We don't fully go the whole esports route with our tournaments, but we do try to foster some healthy competition between our club members just so they kind of see what we're about. And this could be anywhere from a Valorant 5v5 to an Overwatch just 2v2 for fun Lucio
Yeah.
Ball tournament, right? So it's really just getting fun activities that those communities are interested in and then activating those. The other side of it, and then kind of leaning to more so towards the top half of the circle, we usually activate our sponsors. So like MSI usually, since it's a whole bunch of loaner systems, we'll
Yep.
put that on kind of like the top right of the circle, and really just get some of those experiences of people coming in playing on those setups. Usually these are people that can't bring their PCs in or don't have PCs
Right.
that get to come in and enjoy those 10 laptops, and people kind of shift through the day. We also have some board games out there. If we have any other sponsor activities, I believe they also did a Bandai Namco partnership, so they got to bring in some of the One Piece card games to really show off there and kind of teach people how to play them and play
Yeah.
them with them. We have a stage in the middle, so we invite schools from the Carolinas to come out and compete against us in a couple different titles.
Yeah.
We've done Rocket League tournaments there, Valorant 5v5 against like NC State. We've done before has been a big one. NC State tends to be kind of like our esports rival,
Hmm.
so it's always fun having them out. And really just getting that what is college esports, right? It's teaching our regular club members what is college esports, putting them up on the big stage, and also those players get to feel important. They get to feel
Yeah.
validated. They're up on the stage competing, whether it's for glory, for cash, whatever it may be. That
Right.
we are able to bring them that event. They're there feeling validated over the fact that if their game is getting streamed out to the public, they're on a stage and people are actively watching. We have a viewing area with people who just sit down and watch their friends compete, or people who just may be curious about what's going on, go sit down there and just watch these two teams just duke it out. And the other part of it is we have a VR corner on the top left of that circle. So, as I mentioned earlier, it's inclusivity, right? So making sure that we're
Right.
bringing so many different parts of gaming to this event. So something that became kind of staple in there after my first time kind of hosting one of these nights myself was having a VR corner where we bring in a whole bunch of VR headsets, whether we rent them. Our library has about two or three of them, so we usually rent those out, as well as some of our club members bring in their own.
Yeah.
And we really just host a big kind of mini LAN party, but it only is like
Virtually.
a VR. Yeah, it's a VR LAN party.
I like it.
So people are playing, they're playing paintball in VR
Hmm.
with like I think it was like Rec Well or something like that. I
Okay.
think it's what the game's called. They might be playing Nobody Talk Where Everybody Explodes, which is like they have those arm bombs on VR or
Hmm.
something like that. They'll play a little bit of everything.
I
I've
like
seen
that.
people play Among Us VR before in there. That was fun.
Yeah.
We had a guy who came in an Among Us suit once and was going around being like a menace, and that was really fun to watch. We also usually tie these into whatever the season is.
Right.
As I mentioned that VR suit, so Halloween one, we know we had people come in costume.
Yeah.
And it was really fun because everybody like brought in their PCs, then they would leave to go get in costume and come back. And now we have a whole bunch of gamers in their Halloween costumes just on PCs or on the laptops or even up on stage. Some of our players dressed up,
That's great.
going up against some of the other schools. And so doing thematic ones really helps as well, just to kind of celebrate whatever season's going on. We've done holiday ones with like Christmas and some of the other holidays around that, where I think we had like a Christmas tree in the middle of the whole room, and that was fun. Um, Summer ones have been pretty good as well. We'll try to bring in some like energy drink sponsors and other stuff like that just to really supplement some of those things.
Yep.
And so overall, we just do whatever we can to do it. We do it in a very limited budget, of course, but it's just making it a well-rounded out experience that people can come in, have fun, and they have something to talk about for the next month or so before we host another one.
Yeah, I love that. And looking forward to kind of the future. Obviously, now at this new role at Converse University, what is your vision for that? What does the future look like? What are you trying to,
Mhm.
build? Obviously, what you've done previous to this has been huge. And they've accomplished a lot already. So what does that vision look like? What's the future, down that road?
So growing the program as much as possible is a big thing. It's a big goal for us as a program in general.
Hmm.
So bringing in more students to belong. Converse is a very small school, so a big thing for us when it comes to esports is recruitment.
Yep.
Converse used to be a women's college up until I think 2019, 2020. And so one of the pushes when they switched to co-ed and went from college to university was to bring in some different sports offerings to really help supplement that and kind of balance out the co-ed offerings. And so with that, esports is one of three co-ed sports that happen under athletics at Converse. And so with that is for us, it's really just growing the program as much as possible, bringing in as many people from all walks of life, and then activating some of those people and showing them some of the esports things that they're missing out, right? Bringing in, at least personally, some of the club experience that I have. I want to host more events. Was a big thing for me that we're slowly planning on doing. We're looking at kind of what event spaces around campus
Hmm.
are feasible for us to host events in. We're having a big fundraiser coming in about February. I want to say February, March timeline. We're just doing like a carnival.
Okay.
And that's
Yep.
going to be very close to the land party feel that I like, where we're going to be not only doing your stereotypical carnival things, we're gonna have like a dunk tank there. We're gonna have some clowns. We're gonna
I
have
like
people
it.
doing fire, all sorts of things. But we're also activating some gaming brands. We're bringing some learners from some couple different people. Having some Nintendo Switches, hosting some Smash tournaments, Mario Kart, whatever it may be. So really adding that gaming and esports feel to it. Something that's important to me and near dear to me. So we're doing that. And then overall, just learning how to be a director, like I mentioned earlier, that's a more of
Hmm.
a personal thing. Is I
Yeah.
really want to learn the professional side of college esports, just because I see myself in a long time thing. As I mentioned earlier, like I left esports in 2018, coming from the pro background, just because I wasn't really happy with it. It was kind of, to me, it wasn't soulless, I want to say, but it was kind of getting to that point where I just wasn't getting much from it. But then coming to collegiate, seeing the student community, seeing how community oriented it is, I think that really reignited my passion into pursuing esports
Yeah.
more. And so as I keep kind of going more and more into it, it's learning the professional side of what it means to run a program for a university, and then being able to then bring that to wherever I go after I graduate out of my master's program.
Yeah. No, and I agree. It's definitely, when you focus solely on one thing for so long, and then you kind of open your eyes and you see the breadth
Hmm.
of what, collegiate esports is, and the community aspect, and really all of those things, that really kind of reignites that fire, right? And you see, hey, how do I support this? How do I, how can I help build what's going on here? For yourself, I mean, and I know that you interact with a lot of students. What advice do you give to students that are looking to pursue a career in esports?
The main thing for me, at least right now, with how the industry is definitely build a good working portfolio around gaming and esports, but don't make it your sole priority. So I mentioned earlier, esports winter is a big thing going on right now,
Hmm.
and with that, we're seeing a lot of layoffs in the industry. Not even just from the pro side, but the supporting side, the companies. They're having a hard time kind of keeping up with their esports offerings, and we're seeing more and more every day. So the big thing for me when I work with students is, yes, plan for this, but don't make it your one shot.
Right.
Really making sure that you're diversifying yourself, because you never know what life brings, and that's one of the things that I bring in. On the flip side to that, when it comes to esports specific offerings, I really make sure that people are aware of how the industry works, how it operates. If a business student is interested into esports, I'm going to show them things like partnerships, sponsorships, how the business end of those work, how the negotiations for those work. Why is it that some of the things are done, and some of the marketing value even behind them, even though they may not be marketing students,
Right.
right? That's a big thing that is done when it comes to the business side of esports. But and also, if it's a marketing student, it's maybe helping them with their social media graphics, make helping them with their video editing. I did a lot of that coming up into like my tier 2 and tier 3 days, so it's really showing them and kind of like guiding them through, why does this work in non-endemic versus why does this not work in esports, right? And
Hmm.
kind of showing them some of the differences. So it's really, I try to work personalized with students, and I still mentor students to this day on their goals. A lot of UNCC students I still work with, and it's really just about tailoring their experiences to make sure they have a very rounded out portfolio that really encompasses everything that they're interested in, and then everything that they have done, so that they're able to go out and search for their next internship or search for their next job when they graduate. I was really fortunate. I think over this past summer, I had 4 different students got placed into internships
That's
in
awesome.
esports. So I was really happy with that. And just looking to expand on that and keep on helping students grow in whatever their professional goals may be.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, Jorge, I obviously want to give you some time to shout yourself out, tell people where to find you, how to get in touch with you. But really, my final question for you tonight is, where do you see the esports industry heading in the next, 10 to 15 years, when
Hmm.
it comes to collegiate? What do you think of the future there, from this point forward?
Hmm. I see collegiate very much kind of shifting into the regular sports model when it comes to college esports. I think it'll kind of come into a place where we're seeing more conferences that already exist really start competing against each other in that format. We're already started seeing it with like the big esports conference that's
Mm-hmm.
going on, which is the Big East. Plus, I think like 2 or 3 extra schools, and I
Right.
think that that's really where it's going to head into. It's going to help the marketing value a lot to bring in more eyes, because I think towards the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to start seeing more people jump into this as not only supporters but also viewers.
Yeah.
I think viewership is going to grow. It's really going to follow the regular esports model that has happened, right? A lot of people first just started playing games from really getting into that. And as kind of the top 1% started getting even higher and higher and higher, we started seeing a lot more support of people just supporting, watching, and really taking in that content. And so, along with that, I think we're also going to start seeing more collegiate content come out. stuff like this is amazing. What you're doing here is amazing to really get that out, and I'm really glad that Full Sail's pioneering that. And I think we're gonna start seeing more and more content like this come out.
Yeah.
That's really gonna shed a lot into what's going on around collegiate, right? And it's gonna help bring in more eyes. And I think overall we're just gonna start seeing a lot more support, especially if the overall market is correcting itself through esports winter.
Right.
We're also gonna start seeing some of that kickback, and I think that overall we'll just see more support from every different field when it comes to esports come out to collegiate, and hopefully more pro collaborations as well. I think we'll start seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that outlook. I agree. I hope that not only do we continue to grow, but really adopting that's traditional sports model can go a long way to widen the viewership and the interest in this, and also open it up to new eyes too. I think, and I don't know, you saw a lot of that during the pandemic when they're playing, iRacing on ESPN and NBA 2K on ESPN, and people are like, "Wait, this is a thing." Like they didn't realize that was happening, and it really opened up a lot of eyes. So the more that we can do and see these types of things and give that perspective is huge. So, well, thank you so much for being here, man. Seriously, it's been awesome. Congratulations on all the success and obviously the Scholars Award. Tell people where they can find you, how to get in touch with you, all those things.
Every social media, including Discord, my tag right down here, Hispanic Phenom. You can find me right there. Just get in touch with me, whether it's just a conversation or you're curious about something, or you just want to say hi, get in touch, whatever, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, don't care. Just reach out. I'm happy to talk to people. I love making new friends. So, yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Jorge. Thank you so much for being here. We will be back later in December for the next, early in December, sorry, for the next episode of Have Game Will Travel. Have a fantastic evening, and we'll see you soon.